Now we have just started recording. So to give you a brief idea of what we're going to talk about, we have a lot to cover today, so please save your questions. I will try to get to them as we go, but we will be trying to get through a lot of information. Please make sure that you mute yourself, and I will mute everyone. There we go, as we go. So, just to give you a few updates, the first thing is that the deadline for registration right now is set for September 15th. There is a reason for that. First of all, we want to make sure that we can get everybody into the course in plenty of time to complete the first module, and we want to make sure that everybody has ample time to prepare for their first community of practice. We also want to make sure that people have had enough time to get used to the concept of FAME and people have been introduced. So we realize that that's about 3 weeks for you, for some of you after the start of school. For some of you it's a lot sooner after the start of school. So there will be some leeway if needed, but we'd like to think that September 15th is the deadline. And I will send out this link afterwards as well, and this PowerPoint will be up on the blog. After we get started with registration or get a little further along, there will be school folders created. We use Google, and we will create school folders through our Google Drive. So the administrator and facilitators, or administrators and facilitators, depending on your school, will have sharing access to those school folders. And you will use those folders to upload all of your materials. Those school folders will have the registration list that I will be updating every few days, so you will know who has registered at any point in time. And then communication. It would be simplest, given that thus far there are nearly 500 registrants, and there's one of me, for you to select a point person for the school for communication. I am happy for you to copy everyone in leadership on your emails with your questions, but it's easiest for me to know who to contact and to have communication directly to them. So that will be something that you will denote within the school folder. Okay, so getting to the meat of it. So logging in. So if you do not have a Blackboard password or Blackboard account, which is something that is asked during registration, an account will be created for you when you are put into the course. There will be a generic password. It will be the email address that you've registered with, and that password will be shared with you and with all registrants. And it's typically MSDELMS. So my suggestion, and this is something that all of our facilitators have agreed with over time, is that you urge your participants to keep that generic password so that they don't change it, lose it, forget it, and then there is no record of what their password is, because I don't have the capability to look that up. That goes to our Blackboard administrator. So if they change their password, urge them to record that somewhere. The assignments. I suggest that when you are creating calendars, you add those assignments, the application activities, to the calendar. Though the dates for all of them are on the assignments themselves, and they are also on a one-pager that has been created. And I am going to log in and show you what the new course looks like. It is not completely ready yet, but we will have you all logged in and registered very soon so that you can get started. My grades. To let you know about the grade section, it automatically records progress through the module. So it is on the left, and I will show you that. It's on the left menu, but it automatically records module viewing, and then the other portions that will be recorded by you, reported by you, is the community of practice attendance. So you will upload that attendance sheet to the Google folder, and that attendance will be recorded in their grades. And then also the application activities that they submit will be put in as a grade as well. So they will have a grade book that automatically tracks their progress through the modules. It also will factor in the community of practice attendance that you submit to me, and then their application activities. And I will go through that in a little more detail. And then the last part, we have discussion groups set up for each of the different types of roles. So we have a discussion group for administrators, a discussion group for facilitators, and then a larger discussion group for all participants. And so those discussion groups are great for file sharing, for discussion, and for leadership. There are special sections in there as well. So we will go through that right now. So I will share that with you. Okay, so right now you should see the course. Let me turn the edit mode off so you don't see it as I do. This is what you will see when you enter the course. Okay, and it has a bit of information. There's also a module error reporting at the bottom. I'm going to have this on the modules page, or it's on the modules page as well. I'm going to also have it on the assignment page. If there is an issue that you are having, you will click on it. I urge you to have your participants, have you go through the error with them first and then go through this. And they will submit this information to me so that I can check on the issue. If you are having issues with Blackboard itself, that will automatically go to the Blackboard administrator, and that is here in Help. So when you go in, you'll be directed to the home page. Tells you a little bit about FAME, has the video with your coach, Coach Nancy. Then when you have the modules, when you go to the modules, all the modules will show up right here. And again, the module error reporting form. All of the assignments are here, all the application activities. So we have a one-pager that has all the application activities, including due dates. It has directions for submitting. It also includes the information about the fact that they should be bringing a copy of their application activity to the community of practice, because as I discussed in leadership, a large portion of the community of practice is discussing the application activity. They can also resubmit their assignment up to 3 times. So I do suggest that if you have participants who are not technologically inclined, you show them the process of submitting the application activity so they don't go through all of their attempts before actually submitting the grade, before submitting the assignment. Each application activity will be graded before the next one is due. And all of their assignments must be submitted by June 10th to receive credit. So there are 5 activities, but one of them is a revision of their second application activity. So the first 4 modules have application activities. Module 5 does not. So the last application activity is actually for Module 4. It's due Friday, June 10th, and they have plenty of time to complete this because the fifth community of practice is in June. So the 4th community of practice is long before that. However, we want them to have plenty of time to edit and make revisions on their work. As you can see, if you go into the application activity, it will open. All of the assignments are worth 100 points. It's just like whose line is it anyway? The points mean nothing. It's just complete or incomplete. The due date is here. It has directions. It has the links to the actual activities and the directions for the activity. And then they will simply click Browse My Computer, select a file, and upload it and submit. They can save draft if they want to work on it later, if they want to change it, but they have all of that there. So that is the assignment. The next section is reference materials. So some of the materials like classroom poster, door signs, appearance. If you could mute your microphone, that would be great. Thank you. the policy brief that we have, as well as some videos that, and additional videos will be uploaded here as well as the year goes on. And then my grades, this section will show them what their grades are. So right now, all that's in there are the application activities. However, the modules will also be in here and the community of practice attended. There's also a calendar that has all of the due dates for the application activities. You can create your own personal calendar so that your teachers, can copy that and have that information. Then we have discussion groups. So there's a group for administrators, and within administrators, we already have a few members. You can see there will be file exchange, and the major part for this is the group wiki, where we have all of the Need to Know Leadership Series screencasts.
Welcome to this FAME Leadership Screencast, part of the Need to Know series.
There will also be discussion sections for each of the modules. And I encourage you, if you have questions that can really only be answered by your colleagues, if you would like to address that, please feel free to use that section. There'll be another discussion group for educators, and this is where I will have a few different content sections set up in case there is a desire for different content areas to collaborate. And then there's also the discussion group for facilitators. So right here in facilitators, the most important thing that everyone's asking about is the community of practice guide. So we have the first module community of practice guide, second, third, fourth, and fifth. There's also guide for documentation. Okay, so this is for facilitators to before and after each community of practice, what you should do. And there's also the community of practice prep document, which is something that's not required. It's something that is in the modules as a tool that teachers can use, but it is in the same format as the community of practice meetings start with. So what I understood, what I had trouble with, and what I would like to learn more about. Okay, and so this is the course as it is outlined. And I will keep you posted as soon as we have the modules up and running. We will load everyone into it, okay? But don't worry, I will let you know as soon as that happens. Okay, so the next part. I've had a lot of questions about this so far, and I was hoping that today would be the right opportunity to go over it. So just to let you know, we're going to go over the role of the facilitator. So as I mentioned, you are not expected to be an expert. Just like an administrator, you're expected to be a lead learner. So you're going to be learning with the group. We're all educators, so we like to stay one step ahead of our students. So you will have access to those same Need to Know Leadership Series videos that give you a brief overview. But I do suggest using the Module 1 Community of Practice Guide as a guide for the learning. It really is well outlined, and it lets you know what your teachers will be learning. So make that something that you make clear at the beginning, that you do not expect to be considered an expert, that you are learning along with the group, because that does create a really nice group norm, and it increases the comfort level. What I have learned from many of our facilitators, and I'm sure a few of them will chime in a little bit, is that it's helpful to have check-ins, especially during the first module. So during the first module, it's expected that people will struggle with the technology because it might be something new for them, or they might struggle with the concept, or they might have questions. So it's helpful to have some sort of system for check-in. Maybe it's just a weekly email, maybe it's some extra FaceTime, which might be something people need. At some schools we have seen office hours, where they just are going to be in a computer lab on Tuesdays from 3 to 4, and if you want to stop in and chat or need some help, you can drop by at that time. So it's whatever works best for your school and your group, but it is helpful during that first module to have some sort of system of check-ins for people. The community of practice. So a lot of what I showed you. Those community of practice guides, as I mentioned during leadership, they're about 30 pages each. So there's a lot more information in there than you could possibly need. There is, extra reading, there are videos that you could look at. There's so much in there. So my suggestion is once you have chosen the dates, because as you see on there, scheduling is very important. The dates are important to have way in advance. Start out with a calendar for all of your participants so they know those dates in advance and can plan around them. Is that you sit down with your administrator that you're working with and you plan out exactly what you think would be most useful to your participants. It needs to follow a structure, whether that is the structure included in the agenda in the Community of Practice Guide or not, it is up to you. But it should be very structured. Participants should have an agenda. They should know ahead of time what is expected of them. So one of our facilitators, who I see on here, Lisa Laudenschlager, said that a few days ahead of time, she would just send a reminder email about what participants should be bringing with them to the community of practice, such as their application activity, something to write with, something to write on. At her school, they also brought snacks. So just a few of those things that would be useful. And a few tips, I think we'll cover this in a little bit when I ask some of our year one facilitators to just give their input. A few things like making sure that you have a space that is comfortable enough and large enough for everyone to be in. Making sure that the scheduling takes everybody's conflicting schedules into account. And that if this is something that people are going to have to take on in addition, that you be flexible in some of the other requirements or duties that are expected of them. And then documentation. So this will start out, I'm going to put a copy in your school folder once they are all set up. But it is expected that you document who attends the community of practice. So there's a sign-in sheet. Just as an ask for everyone's benefit, however that person registers for the course, that is what should be on the documentation. We had a lot of issues when we were completing the credit forms at the end with different names. So whatever their name is in the course, please ask them to consistently use that name in all of the documentation, including the names on their application activities. And then please submit it to the school folder, and you'll have the ability and access to simply upload that file. We will move on to the role of the administrator. Again, you are not expected to be an expert as an administrator. You're expected to be the lead learner. You're expected to learn along with the group. It is not a requirement for the administrator because I know many of you will not be able to receive CPD credits. That is not a requirement to complete the modules. However, the majority of our administrators have completed most of the modules or have done the readings so that they can be aware of what their teachers are learning, so that they can be an active participant in the community of practice meeting. But as an added bonus, or really to make your lives a little bit easier, we have the Need to Know series. And I will be sending out email reminders before each module. So the first module one, as soon as you are registered, I would suggest getting started on. But we will have discussion boards set up so that if you do have questions, if you do need assistance, that will be there for you to ask, to share. And there will be year one or cohort one administrators in that group as well, and they are always happy to share their wisdom with you. I apologize. It is an expectation that you attend the community of practice. The administrator is there to support, is there to get feedback, is there to listen, and to take into account any of the struggles your teachers are having, whether those are things like scheduling or the need for more collaborative time, or maybe they want to start partnering up with your feeder elementary, middle, or high school. The role of the administrator is to really be there to listen, support, and think about ways that they can continue expanding this out. Another strong suggestion from our facilitators is having a kickoff meeting. There are many reasons for this, and I'm sure you understand most of them. So your initial meeting with participants, thank you, Lisa Laudenschlager, again for this. meet in a computer lab or somewhere where they have computer access and have them log into their Blackboard account to make sure that the information is correct, so that it is not the week before their application activity is due or the week before the community of practice, and they all of a sudden haven't done anything because they can't log in. So during that first kickoff meeting, if they've already registered, have them log in. I would suggest, if that's not a possibility at that first kickoff meeting, then have them log in and verify their information is correct at another point in time, because that will be a frustration. And it is not really easy for us to change that information once it's created. So again, I will check with you and be updating those registration lists in your class folder or your school folder, so please make sure that's correct. Establish your group norms and expectations. It should be expected that before your community of practice, the modules have been completed, which makes sense. They should arrive with application activity in hand. And whatever else your group norms and expectations are, you know, if you want to create those during your kickoff meeting or if you want to establish those at your first community of practice meeting. But, you know, the community of practice is supposed to be an open, safe space for sharing. Just like a classroom, you want it to be somewhere where people can admit that they're struggling, ask for assistance. And so some of those group norms and expectations should be established ahead of time. And if, like a lot of your schools, you have a group expectation that everybody brings something to eat or whatever else, or phones are in the middle of the table, that's a great time to have that created. It is also a great time to create or share that calendar that you should have for your participants. That includes the community of practice dates, the application activity due dates, any optional or additional meeting or collaboration time. I would also suggest having things on there like interim reports, grades being due, days off from school, those types of things that would be really useful for teachers to all have in one space, so that it doesn't seem like there are all these conflicts that come up out of nowhere. It's really helpful for them to have that, and if you happen to be on a shared calendar system, it would be great to create a same group calendar as well. And then this would be a great time to distribute maybe classroom signs, posters, whatever else. If you have art teachers participating, see if they want to create something, or particularly artistic teachers or students. You do not have to use the ones that we have created. We will not be insulted. We would love for you to create your own resources, materials, visuals, all of those things. Now, just to touch upon our wonderful Cohort 1 people, and Cohort 2, this applies to you because Cohort 1 is there as a resource for you. They understood that at the end of last year, that their role was to be the trailblazers, the pilot group, and the resource for everyone that comes after. So their first option is to complete the revised course again. It has a new course code. There are more CPD credits available. Facilitators have more CPD credits. And some of the course materials have been revised based on Cohort 1 feedback. There are also the exciting videos of Maryland classrooms and Maryland teachers, as well as Maryland administrators, in those videos. So those are there for your viewing pleasure, or for those of you who are on camera from Cohort 1, your viewing discomfort. But the course has been updated and changed. And so another suggestion I have along with that is think about what you completed for your application activities in year 1, and think about how those can be extended, how the learning can be deepened, and really how looking at those course materials you can extend, improve, and refine practices and work. And a large role of Cohort 1 will be for them to provide learning opportunities for their school, their district, and in the regional support networks that will be coming up. I will talk a bit more about that at a later date, because I will be conferring with your district personnel around feasible dates for that to occur. But the regional support networks will be in lieu of the many, many school visits we were able to do last year, because I will make my best attempt to visit every single school this year, but that is very difficult given competing priorities. So The regional support networks will be an opportunity for Cohort 1, Cohort 2, and district personnel as well as MSDE and expert staff to share information around formative assessment, around things happening in the state, and hopefully around extending learning. I know that we already have one group that would really like to do a focus during the second regional support network on learning progression. So it's a really great opportunity for Cohort 1 people to serve as really lead learners and to serve as Maryland experts, which is fantastic that we have that ability. So what's next? Well, I sent out a link with the kickoff webinar for teachers. If you did not get that, please answer that. I'm going to put this in the chat as well. Please select all of the best dates and times that work for your district, your school. The webinar will be recorded, so if you want to hold that later. And if you have any questions that you'd like to be answered, please feel free to let me know. As soon as I have a date, I'm going to send out an invitation, and it will have a link to a question form. So you will have the opportunity to ask questions in advance so that I can make sure that they're all answered during their webinar. What I'll basically do is kind of go through the course with them and just discuss the basic expectations, and it will be short. I really don't want it to be longer than 20 to 30 minutes. So if you're not able to join live, then you can just show that at your kickoff meeting. I really want to have as much information for you as possible ahead of time so that your transition is really easy. The planning template items. So just a quick note on that. All of the leadership materials are on the blog. I have showed that to you before. But just as a reminder, there are a number of items here that you can use for planning. And if you have not done so already, I strongly suggest that you go through many of these items. So the one, I will go ahead and share my screen with you. One that is very important, that if you have not already gone through with your leadership team, and if you happen to be one of the groups that are attending this Thursday, that is fine. If you have not gone through this with your leadership team, that is a must-do before you have your kickoff meeting. So developing a common understanding about formative assessment among your faculty, current priority school initiatives, what structures do you need to adjust to make SAME really work at your school, and then thinking of the tools or materials from the training that you're going to use, what successful implementation will look like, how you'll align your professional learning structures, it's very important, and then some of the concepts and tools that you're going to use. These are some of the key learning goals that you can share with your teachers. I think it would be a great idea to do so. And then thinking about your leveraging what you already have written in your school improvement plan and your existing professional learning opportunities. I heard most of you already talking about this during leadership, but I know that if you participated in the one-day really condensed version, there was no planning time. So this is something to make sure that you have completed with your team. And the other materials, we have the checklist here as well. And that checklist is a great, very, very simple tool to allow you to prepare. So identifying and communicating expectations with teachers, identifying the facilitators, setting up cohort or the community of practice meeting dates and times. Once the form or once registration is completed, ensuring that they all have a correct Blackboard login, communicating expectations for participation, sharing a sample professional growth goal with participants, which I heard many of you talking about Danielson framework, or for those of you in Worcester County, the 5D model. That kickoff meeting would be a great time to talk about that evaluation and the professional growth goal, and how FAME and the attributes of FAME perfectly align. That would be a great time to do so. And then putting all of your follow-up meetings on the calendar as well. So just another note about some of the planning items and some of the tools that are in the leadership materials. Within the leadership materials, you also have the walkthrough checklist. You have the Burns Use Scale as well. Just a note with the Burns Use Scale, I've spoken to a number of our schools, Cohort 1 schools, and the Burns Use Scale, if you look at it, the first thing that teachers do is a self-assessment. Well, as we know, most of us first think we know formative assessment. We do formative assessment. We have this. However, what we find is that once teachers complete the Burns Use Scale, they typically, they think that they know that. And then they complete Module 1. And they realize they didn't know what they didn't know. So our suggestion is that the Burns Use Scale, or the self-assessment for teachers, is completed before they start the module and then after the first module to have a really good comparison. And we also suggest that they do it after the first module so that you can have a great baseline for comparison to their end of the year completion. Because if you have them complete it before they realize what they don't know, they tend to rate themselves much higher. So it won't show the same amount of growth. And a few other tips from some of our Cohort 1 schools is think of a way that you can evaluate this. Do you have a system set up for data that you will already use for evaluating the effectiveness? Many of our schools have used MAP data. We are not suggesting that you use a new standardized assessment to measure this. But if you already have systems in place, or if you have a tool in place, it would be great to have some of that data for you to use, especially at the end of the year to take to your district to show the change that has occurred in your school. So these are other things for you to think about, to consider, and to have with you as you start planning. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to unmute all and go ahead and let people ask questions at this point or share.
Okay, so does that mean you can hear us?
I can hear you. I can hear everyone now.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
If you don't want me to continue, please mute yourself.
So, okay, no, that's fine. This is Sarah Jean, and I joined about 5 minutes in because I was having difficulty logging on the webinar. So hopefully, I emailed you, and just hopefully we can work that out.
Okay.
You could see me? I just turned my video on.
If you do not have questions, please go ahead and remute yourself because we're hearing a lot of entertaining conversations. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is Sandy. How soon after the school year starts do you recommend having the kickoff?
My suggestion is that you bring everybody together maybe by that September 15th date or earlier. Whenever you think that you have enough people started or within your group, it would be recommended to get that kickoff.
So as early in September as we can. Is that what you're saying?
As early as possible is my suggestion. However, if you know that you still have many more teachers on board, really my suggestion is when you think you have everybody.
Okay. All right.
So I have a question about the standardized tests that you recommended to use, the county at the high school.
Just to be clear, I did not recommend. I don't want to say I recommend.
So the county, Baltimore County has standardized tests for high school exams. Even though you're using a different population, would it be a good idea for a teacher to look at her or his exam results from one year last year to this year if they're teaching the same course and use that as a gauge?
That could be a possibility. However, just thinking from a straight measurement standpoint, that might not be the most applicable because unless the student population is exactly the same. And there's a lot of places are using simple data or simple things that they're already using like reading or math tests that are something that everybody takes.
There are people that were they pretended like to take the paper. And she was asking all these questions that had nothing to do with any, and then it's all access too.
So just to let everybody know, everybody's unmuted, so we can hear you. Are there any other questions?
Yes, what does an administrator need to do in order to earn the 2 credits?
It will be 3 CPD credits, and really it's the same for everyone. They just need to complete the module, complete the application activities, and to complete attend the community of practice. So 3 credits, they're all completely tied together, so you can't earn just 1 or 2. And all 3 of those components are necessary to get the CPD credit.
Now, are the activities, do you need students in order to do the activities?
So
like if you're an
for people who are not a traditional classroom teacher, the recommendation is that they select a class or a teacher to work with on those activities, to partner with. Some of our administrators have selected a teacher that is, starting out, like a newer teacher. We're working with somebody that could really use that assistance. So looking at the lesson planning and all of that, those types of application activities, if you don't have your own classroom, it's most helpful to partner with a teacher.
All right.
But there's always the opportunity if you're an administrator to think about a more creative way of doing it. So if you have an idea for the application activities that work for you in your personal context, please let me know. We're very flexible. And we really want it to be able to support your work.
Oh, yeah. You sent out? Okay. I didn't send it yet. Okay.
Way back.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. When is the course going to be ready? I know you said it's going to be ready soon for the facilitators.
I love these questions.
My goal is next week. We're having a little bit of an issue getting them loaded again. We are trying to make sure that it is done correctly. So I will keep you updated. Don't worry, you will know as soon as we have people.
Right now.
As soon as we have people, or as soon as we have it up and ready to go, I will load the first group. So everybody who's registered, as soon as by that point, will be automatically registered in the course.
That's going to be confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I can do. Pardon?
I hate to wait.
I do have one more question, Melissa.
Yes.
Will the facilitator see all the teachers who are enrolled? Make sure that everyone. No.
Not in the actual course, but if they have registered, then they will be on your school list. That's why we're creating school lists for everyone.
And when will we have access to those school lists?
The school list, I am working on it. We have a lot of schools this year, so I've started a number of them. But until a facilitator or administrator registers for the actual registers through the online registration form, it won't be shared with them. So if your school has registered an administrator or facilitator, then I can start sharing that information. But until that happens for a school, I don't have any way of sharing. I don't know who to share it with. Because, and the reason I've been asked this before, and the reason we don't just automatically assume everybody that has gone through leadership is participating is because a lot of schools don't. A lot of changes happen over the summer. We've already had a lot of teachers administrators move schools, so we wait until that registration has started. And I am working on that this week and hope to have it. Again, my goal is next week.
Do it on a piece, hand it to the other person, do a paper check off, and then
I see that Lisa asked the question, will we get a report after the deadline passes for each assignment showing who has or has not turned in assignments? So I'm in touch with a number of your districts that have, those of you who have a number of people participating with your districts, they will be in touch with you about those types of things. So your contact person will also be added to your school folder so that you know who to contact about those questions. They have the ability to look that up for you. And I can easily run that report, but unfortunately we'll have every single person on it. It's just the way these courses are set up. So I will make sure that you get a report of the people that have not completed it, because that is a whole lot easier for you to have than, or for me to complete than who has.
Melissa, I have a question. For the application activities, it was stated that they're 100 points, you know, they either did it or they didn't do it.
Right.
Facilitators grade those or look at them, or do they go straight to you through the modules?
Straight to me through modules.
Perfect.
whoever is starting with that class, take the attendance and then give that to the homeroom. And the homeroom teacher can check it against before.
So, sorry, I can't. Is someone else asking a question?
Starting, it's whoever.
You said there's one contact at each school. I'm sorry. Do we let you know who that person is?
Yep. As soon as I share the school folder with you, the school folder will be shared with anyone at your school who registered as an administrator or facilitator. And there's going to be a line on the top of your school list that asks for the contact person.
Okay.
So I'll be sharing those as you go, as we go. It's just, I really appreciate everyone being patient. I am the only person working on this, and unfortunately this is nowhere near my only project at the moment, but I am really, really trying to get this ready for you guys. I hope to, as I mentioned before, my goal was originally this Friday. For everyone to be registered and have that set up, so fingers crossed.
But even breakfast goes by homeroom.
Okay.
Breakfast check-offs go by homeroom. And a lot of times when teachers, if you're doing the breakfast, you're taking attendance at the same time.
I'm sorry. Someone's talking in the background, and I don't think they're talking about this because I hear homeroom. Are there any other questions?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
I know that we have a number of our facilitators on. Facilitators, I know that we have Marshall, we have Lisa from last year. Is there anything that you guys would like to share, just a few tips or tricks or any input that you might have?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Marshall.
Okay. I've been very quiet. That was good. I just think to keep everybody calm, the more organized you are, it makes such a difference.
Maybe. I don't know if he's, but most Baltimore County, I don't know Baltimore County schools with this.
Okay, Marshall, you want to keep going?
Well, I'm thinking about what I would say. This seems the biggest problems we had were people trying to log on to the site and submitting work. So the earlier you get to that, the more, like you said, keep the password very generic. I think it's going to be very helpful. And I think the beginning of the year having that meeting is going to be critical. We didn't do that last year, and I wish we had. So I'm looking forward to doing that this year.
I told that woman was very.
Any other year one participants want to share out some of their wisdom?
Melissa, this is Shannon. I just wanted to say for us it was really important to hold that meeting as early in the year as possible. And then to sort of really work with your teachers and make sure they're uploading their stuff on time. We had some teachers at the end of the year who realized they had done all the stuff but hadn't uploaded it. So you want to just kind of keep on top of your teachers and keep that face-to-face contact time with them.
Yep, thank you. Lisa, anything to add?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I think also one thing I'd add is just that I think it's really important to try to support people in the time for module viewing, especially in the beginning, because sometimes people don't realize like how long it takes to watch the modules. So maybe even watching lesson 1 of module 1 together, and encouraging people to set up like watching times so they
like
kind
that.
of hold each other accountable.
I like that.
And I mentioned this at leadership before as well, but you know, a lot of our schools that had that ability in their schedule did have their teachers, and this is something that the teachers wanted to do, so I wouldn't force it upon them. The teachers completed the modules together. They all sat and logged in on their little laptop or whatever tool they had. They all logged into their own course, but they progressed through together. You know, they muted it and they watched it all together, and then discussed. So they've done the readings ahead of time, but they watched the video, they took the quizzes, did all of that together, and had that time to discuss. It is a reminder, again, I will say it, that they have to be logged in under their account and progress through the modules to receive the credit. But I know that some of our elementary schools had the scheduling to allow that, and the teachers really enjoyed having that face-to-face time to discuss it as they're progressing through. So those are some things to think about as you're going through. Anything else to add? And I know that Haley was a teacher last year going through it, and this year will be a facilitator. Do you have anything to add, Haley?
Just making sure that you remind your teachers that the modules do take time. You know, you get busy and then you're like, oh, darn, I need to get everything done by tonight. And then you go through all 4 modules, or all 4 lessons in a module, and it's approximately an hour for each lesson. So really taking the time to sit down, explain to your teachers, you know, take the time to go through them, listen to what it's saying, read the readings, those sorts of things that some teachers can become complacent with, especially if they have other things that they're doing. So, not saying I did that at all. So.
Of course not. I'm sure you're a model student.
I was.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
What is the minimum amount of time it takes to complete a module? I think up front we thought it was about 90 minutes. Now I'm hearing it's 4 hours.
90 minutes is actually the time for the community of practice meeting. Each module has about 4 lessons, and those lessons are 45 minutes to an hour to complete. That does include time for reading, though. It does include the reading.
Yeah, I'm a slow reader, so that's why I said an hour per each one.
So I'll bet half an hour.
Probably.
I don't know. I got to do it. I got to do it and then say, here's what it did with me.
I think that was Candace. I think that's a great idea. You know, it's, like I said before, we're teachers, you know, and we like to be one step ahead of our students. So I know a lot of you, as soon as the course opens, will get in there and start looking through and start completing the modules. And I completely understand that. I completely understand that sentiment. So please make sure, are there any other questions before I start wrapping up?
Melissa, I have one last one. I know last year the modules, you had said not to move on to certain modules until an email was sent out because of changes. Are all the modules open?
Yep. As soon as modules are on, they will be open, ready to go. That was because last year we took all of your feedback into consideration. So Cohort 2, you guys are very lucky. We have gotten a lot of feedback from Cohort 1, And everything down to the course design that I showed you, to the module content and organization, has gone into that information, or gone into the new version. So as soon as they're launched, they'll be ready to go. They will be tracked within the gradebook, and it'll be all good for you as soon as it's up and running. So my request to you, please make sure that you, as the facilitator, have registered for the actual course, because until that happens, I will not have a contact person for you, so for your school. So I'm going to just share it with you one more time in case you don't have that. So please register first. Let me sorry, I'm just going to share my screen with you one more time. And if this is not something that you've seen before, this blog, the same cohort blog, which is linked from our original one, this is for course participants. So if you, all of these things will go on here. Our webinar from today will be on the archived webinar page here. There's information here for you about FAME informative assessment that you're welcome to use, as well as a few of the cool visuals that you've seen. And then there are sections for administrators. There's sections for facilitators, sections for teachers. We have a whole page on feedback, resources to discuss feedback, and the modules. So here's the error log again, if people are having issues with the modules. The screencast of the modules is on here. The breakdown, like the content, and this is obviously last year's date. I have to update that, but it's the same basic content. And then registration.
Voice intelligence, your smartphone or tablet.
Great. So if you have that, if you have not yet registered, please do so. Again, it's right here. Make sure that you register yourself as the facilitator or administrator. Make sure that your teachers know to register themselves as teachers and not facilitators or administrators. And sorry guys, if you are talking, if you could mute yourself. Thank you. If you could make sure that your teachers, and this part I know seems ridiculous, but people have already completed this incorrectly. If they have an MSDE eConnect account, which is Blackboard, their username should be an email address. So I've had people register already with random numbers or a name, and their username should be their county email address if they already have an account. And they should also test out whether or not they can already log in. And this is something that I've mentioned during leadership, but if you could just really encourage them to do that, it'll make the process a lot easier because we'll automatically create accounts for those who don't have them. And again, they will all get a generic password. And like Marshall said, it's really a lot easier if they don't change the password. I know that people want to make it more secure, but if they lose their password, it's a little process to get their password, and I don't have that information. So, just in closing.
Melissa, I have a quick question. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Cordelia in PG County. I came on kind of late because I'm at another meeting. I just wanted to make sure everything that you've already previously discussed will be on the blog information so I can go back over and re-review it.
Yes, it will, as well as this recording.
Okay, great.
Yep. Are there any other questions or concerns before we go? Okay. So both this PowerPoint and as soon as I have it downloaded and transferred and uploaded to YouTube, the recording will be on the blog under webinars, and I will send out an email for everyone as well to review. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. Please be aware that I'm also in charge of closing out grants this week, so I may not be as timely as normal right now, but I will respond to you as quickly as possible. And as soon as I know, as soon as those modules are ready to go and people are uploaded into the course, I will let you know. Please believe me. So thank you again, and please make sure that you complete the doodle poll for the best time for a webinar with your teachers. Thank you again, and I see, let's see, where to register. Please register on either one of our blogs. The registration is on both of them. And how soon after a teacher registered? Right now, I will let you know when our first group will be registered. We already have about 500 people. So as soon as the course is ready, we'll start up registering people. I don't want to put people in the course until the modules are launched. So thank you again for that patience. Okay, thank you guys for attending today. And if you have any other questions, again, please feel free to send me an email.